I'm a member of the Franciscan Order, which was founded by St. Francis of Assisi about 800 years ago. And the calling is to live the gospel. And so the flourishing that we envisage is a flourishing that Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus Christ, speaks about, which is having the fullness of life. And that involves the entire person, the whole person. We are involved in a wide variety of ministries, works throughout the world in over 100 countries. And that includes everything from teaching to involvement in different chaplaincies, spiritual accompaniment, work in parishes, work with the poor, work for ecology, a whole range, because we see the human person in body, mind and spirit as needing to flourish in all of these areas. St. Francis, 800 years ago, as I said, lived at a time of tremendous change. There was a change in the economic system. There was a rise of the merchant classes. And in some ways that terrified him because his father was a cloth merchant and he saw greed as one of the greatest obstacles to human flourishing. He could see that his father was very driven and he really saw profit as the bottom line, as the most important thing. And for St. Francis, he strove to communicate to people, look, you don't own anything. Everything that you receive is not yours. It's a gift from God, and it's also a gift to be used in the service of other people and of God too. And so I think that's something we really need to rediscover in our world today. The market has become so dominant in so many areas of our lives that rediscovering the sense of life as a gift, of material things as a gift, where private property is not absolute, but has to be moderated in some way by people's needs. Who we are as people is not as consumers or proprietors. Who we are as people is something much deeper and more sacred. And I think when people lose that sense of themselves, they either think of themselves as a product or as a consumer. And that's a very superficial way of being in the world. But the massive Madison Avenue industry of advertising wants you to feel that. There's some very good writers like James Allison, who draws on René Girard, who speaks about mimetic desire and how we are presented with images of desire and we instinctively follow that desire, we imitate that. And that's part of how people feel more and more hungry and yet unfulfilled. Because in many ways they're looking in the wrong places for what actually satisfies. St. Francis of Assisi wrote the first poem in Italian. It's called The Canticle of the Creatures. And in it he says, Laudato si, which is praise be you. He's praising God for all of God's creation. Brother sun, sister moon, sister water, mother earth. And he sees every created thing as being in kinship, in relationship of brotherhood and sisterhood. And so that's our way of viewing the world, that not just human beings, but also plants and animals, the environment, everything that God has created, that everything is interconnected, that everything belongs. And just as some of the speakers have been saying this morning, that nobody should be left behind, that human flourishing is for everybody. If it's only for some people, well then we've missed the plot, because everybody is interconnected. In the order, one of the riches we have is that we're very multicultural. But on the other hand, here I meet a variety of cultures and also people who are coming at the issues from a different standpoint. And yet at the same time being people of tremendous goodwill, of a desire to see a better world. For example, this morning there was a session on the issue of infant mortality and women's health at the time of gestation and birth and postpartum. These were issues that opened up a whole question to me about equality, about respect, about racism as it affects women's health, a whole range of issues that I wouldn't otherwise be engaged with. And it's been fascinating. As regards outcomes, I can see how in sharing information, practical approaches, hopes and dreams, that outcomes emerge. I'm convinced that it may be slow incremental change, but certainly outcomes are bound to emerge from something like this.